The ocean world of Tidal Prime sparkled under twin suns, its surface broken only by delicate coral cities that pulsed with soft blue light. The Altoran people had built their civilization in harmony with the sea, growing their homes from living coral and powering their technology with bioluminescent organisms. For 8,000 years, they had known only peace. Ambassador Lyra swam through the crystal corridors of the High Council chamber, her translucent skin flickering with urgent patterns of distress. The water around her carried the chemical signatures of fear from hundreds of her people. Above the ocean surface, the sky burned with the fires of their dying orbital platforms. "The defensive grid has fallen," she announced as she entered the chamber. "Our bioships cannot penetrate their armor. The Ravagers have destroyed 3 of our moon colonies in the past day." The High Council members floated in their ceremonial circle, their ancient bodies showing the deep blue patterns of mourning. Elder Kale, oldest among them, spoke with the weight of centuries. "In all our history, we have never faced such destruction. These creatures consume everything in their path. They do not negotiate or show mercy." Through the chamber's transparent walls, Lyra could see the massive shapes of enemy vessels hanging in the water above their city. The Ravagers had adapted their technology to work underwater, turning their world's greatest protection into another battlefield. Their harvester ships drained the ocean's bioluminescent organisms, leaving dead zones spreading across the planet. "Our scientists estimate we have perhaps 10 rotations before complete extinction," Elder Kale continued. "The Ravagers are not content with conquest. They strip worlds bare of all life, leaving only empty husks behind." Lyra had seen the reports from their deep space observation posts. The Ravager fleet numbered in the thousands, each ship larger than their greatest coral cities. They moved from system to system like a plague, consuming entire civilizations. The Alterans had been unlucky enough to be discovered during the fleet's expansion into their region of space. "We must send a call for help," Lyra said, her skin patterns shifting to urgent hope. "Our long-range sensors have detected advanced civilizations within 12 light years. There is a system with clear signs of industrial development and space travel." The council members exchanged glances. The Alterans had never made contact with alien species before. Their entire philosophy was built around peaceful coexistence with their ocean environment. The idea of asking strangers for military assistance went against everything they believed. "What if these aliens are hostile like the Ravagers?" asked Council Member Neth, her young voice trembling with fear. "We could be inviting another invasion." Elder Kale considered this carefully. "The Ravagers will destroy us whether we call for help or not. At least this way we have a chance." He gestured to the burning sky above. "Besides, any species that could help us must be advanced enough to have choices about how they use their power." The decision was made quickly. The Alterans activated their most powerful deep space transmitter, a massive bioluminescent organism that had been cultivated for centuries. The creature's neural network was more complex than any artificial computer, capable of encoding messages. Across vast distances, Lyra composed the message herself, choosing each word with care. "To any species capable of faster-than-light travel, we are the Alterans of Tidal Prime in the system you designate as Volf 359. We face complete annihilation by an aggressive force called the Ravagers. They have overwhelmed our defenses and are systematically destroying our world. We are a peaceful people with no experience in warfare. We offer all our knowledge, our resources, and our eternal friendship to any who can provide military assistance. Please, if you can hear this message, help us. We do not wish to die." The message included detailed star charts, technical specifications of their world, and complete cultural databases. The Alterans held nothing back. Trusting completely in the hope that someone would answer their call, the transmission burst across space at faster-than-light speeds, carried by quantum entangled particles that their biotechnology had learned to manipulate. Within hours, it would reach the solar system that their sensors had identified as the most promising source of help. As the message raced through the void, the Ravager assault intensified. Their harvester ships began draining the ocean itself, processing the water for trace minerals and consuming the microscopic organisms that form the base of Tidal Prime's ecosystem. The Alterans watched helplessly as their world literally began to die around them. "How long before we receive a response?" asked Neth, her patterns showing desperate hope. "If they respond immediately, perhaps 4 rotations," Lyra replied. "But they may not understand our language, or they may need time to prepare. We could be waiting much longer." The council members began making preparations for the worst. Emergency protocols were activated to preserve genetic samples and cultural records in deep ocean vaults. If the Alterans were to be destroyed, at least some record of their civilization might survive, but even as they prepared for extinction, a faint hope remained. Somewhere in the darkness of space, their message was traveling toward an unknown species. The Alterans had no way of knowing that they had just contacted a race that had spent millennia perfecting the art of warfare, a species that had evolved on a world where everything tried to kill them, and had responded by becoming the most dangerous predators in their region of the galaxy. The message reached Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station exactly 3 days after transmission. Dr. Alex Reed, monitoring the late-night shift, nearly dropped his coffee when the translation algorithms processed the alien signal. Within minutes, alarms were sounding across every military base on Earth. The Alterans had sent a distress call to the stars, hoping for salvation. They had no idea they had just awakened humanity. The emergency session of the Global Defense Council took place in the deepest bunker beneath Geneva, a room that had witnessed humanity's most critical decisions. The alien distress call played on repeat while military leaders from every nation studied the translated message and accompanying data. General Brooks stood before the massive holographic display showing the Tidal Prime system. Long-range telescopes confirm everything in their message. There's definitely a massive fleet in their system, and preliminary analysis suggests they're strip mining the planet. He paused, highlighting key tactical points. The aliens calling for help appear to be completely pacifist. They've handed us detailed specifications of their world, their technology, and the enemy fleet composition. Admiral Torres leaned forward in her chair. They're trusting us with information that could be used to conquer them as easily as help them. Either they're incredibly naive, or they're desperate enough to take any chance. "Both, most likely," replied Dr. Reed, the astronomer, who had first detected the signal. Their cultural databases show no evidence of warfare in their entire recorded history. They've never even conceived of military tactics or weapons designed to kill their own species. The council members exchanged glances. Humanity's history was written in blood and conquest. Every advance in technology had been matched by advances in warfare. They had turned killing into a science, strategy into an art form, and survival into an instinct that drove them to perfect increasingly efficient methods of destruction. "What's our assessment of the attacking force?" asked General Brooks. Colonel Martinez, head of alien threat analysis, activated a new display. "Based on the Alteran data, we're dealing with a nomadic species that calls itself the Ravagers. They appear to be a locust-like civilization that moves from system to system, consuming all resources before moving on. Their technology is brute force oriented, massive ships with overwhelming firepower but no sophisticated tactics." Admiral Torres studied the enemy fleet composition. 1,000 ships, mostly harvester vessels with escort craft. They rely on sheer numbers and intimidation. No defensive formations, no coordinated strike patterns. They're used to dealing with species that can't fight back. "They've never encountered humans," General Brooks said grimly. "Initiate Operation Lifeline. I want the entire Third Fleet mobilized within 48 hours. The order went out across Earth's military networks. In orbital shipyards, maintenance crews began final preparations on humanity's most advanced warships. The Third Fleet consisted of 12 vessels, each one a masterpiece of human military engineering, where other species built ships for exploration or commerce. Humans had built theirs for one purpose: to kill efficiently and survive everything the enemy could throw at them. Admiral Torres transferred her flag to the UES Terra's Might, humanity's newest battleship. The vessel stretched 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull bristling with weapon systems that could crack planets. But its true strength lay in its artificial intelligence network, a quantum computer system that could process battlefield information and coordinate attacks faster than any biological mind. "All department heads to the briefing room," Torres announced as her ship prepared for departure. "We're going to war." The briefing room filled with humanity's finest military minds. Each officer had been selected for their expertise in a particular aspect of warfare that humanity had perfected over millennia of conflict. They represented the culmination of human military evolution, from the first tribal warriors to the space age. Tacticians who could coordinate fleet actions across light years. "The Alterans have provided us with everything we need to plan a perfect ambush," Torres began. "Enemy fleet composition, their tactical patterns, even the specific locations of their command vessels. They've done this because they trust us completely." Commander Ross, tactical officer of the Terra's Might, smiled grimly. "The Ravagers have made 2 critical mistakes. First, they assumed the Alterans had no allies. Second, they've never fought a species that evolved from predators. The human fleet departed Earth with minimal fanfare. While the Alterans had broadcast their distress call openly, hoping anyone would hear it, the humans maintained complete communication silence. They would arrive at tidal prime without warning, giving the Ravagers no chance to prepare for what was coming. As the 12 ships entered hyperspace, their AI systems began the complex calculations that would turn the upcoming battle into a precisely orchestrated slaughter. Each vessel's computer linked with the others, creating a unified tactical network that could respond to changing conditions faster than any enemy could adapt. The Ravagers had spent millions of years perfecting their method of planetary consumption. They had encountered hundreds of species and crushed them all with overwhelming force. But they had never met a species that had spent its entire evolutionary history learning how to kill more efficiently than anything else in the galaxy. Humanity was about to introduce them to the concept of the apex predator. Warlord Thane stood in the command center of his flagship, the massive harvester ship Bone Crusher, watching with satisfaction as his fleet systematically dismantled another world. The Ravagers had been following this pattern for over 2 million years, moving from system to system like an unstoppable plague that consumed everything in its path. The bridge around him hummed with activity as his subordinates coordinated the destruction of tidal prime. Massive displays showed the progress of the harvest, with each processed moon and orbital platform adding to their resource totals. The Alterans had provided more bioluminescent organisms than any world they had encountered in the past 1,000 years. "Report on the planetary assault," Thane commanded, his voice carrying the authority of countless successful campaigns. Sub-Commander Krell, a scarred veteran of dozens of world-breaking operations, gestured to the tactical display. "The Alterans continued to resist in their underwater cities, but their weapons are merely inconveniences. Their bioships cannot penetrate our armor plating. We have successfully drained 40% of their ocean's energy-producing organisms." Thane examined the battlefield reports with the detached interest of a professional destroyer. The Ravagers had evolved on a world where only the most aggressive survived, where entire species went extinct daily in the struggle for resources. They had learned early that the only way to ensure survival was to consume everything before someone else could take it. "These creatures are even weaker than the crystal builders we encountered in the Vega system," Thane observed. "At least those beings attempted to weaponize their technology. The Alterans seem incapable of even understanding the concept of warfare." The Ravager fleet had perfected the art of planetary consumption over millions of years. They had encountered hundreds of civilizations, from primitive tribes to advanced technological societies. None had ever posed a serious threat to their operations. The formula was always the same: arrive with overwhelming force, ignore any attempts at communication or negotiation, and systematically strip the world of everything valuable. The Alterans sent some kind of transmission before we jammed their communications, Krell reported. Our linguists believe it was a distress call, probably to their colonies in nearby systems. Thane laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the command center. Let them call for help. We have dealt with species that had extensive colonies and mutual defense pacts. Numbers mean nothing when you lack the will to fight. The Ravager philosophy was simple: might made right, and they had more might than anyone else in the galaxy. Their ships were massive, their weapons devastating, and their numbers overwhelming. They had never encountered a species that could match their firepower or their ruthless efficiency. Begin the final phase, Thane ordered. I want their core. Cities breached within 2 rotations. The bioluminescent organisms at their planet's core will provide enough energy to fuel our fleet for the next 10 campaigns. As his fleet moved into position for the final assault, Thane reflected on the Ravager path to dominance. They had started as one of dozens of aggressive species in their home galaxy, constantly fighting for scarce resources. But they had been the first to develop the harvester technology that could strip entire worlds clean. Within a few million years, they had consumed every other species in their galaxy and begun expanding into new regions of space. Warlord, called the sensor operator. We have detected an anomaly at the edge of the system. Long-range sensors show 12 vessels emerging from hyperspace. Thane turned to examine the new display. 12 ships, unknown configuration, moving in a tight formation toward the inner system. He studied their energy signatures with growing amusement. Are these reinforcements for the Alterans? Unknown, Warlord. The vessels do not match any configuration in our databases. They appear to be using technology we have not encountered before. Thane examined the tactical analysis with contempt. 12 ships against our 1,000-vessel fleet. Even if they are advanced, they cannot possibly pose a threat to our operations. He gestured dismissively. Continue the planetary assault. If these newcomers interfere, we will destroy them as an example to any other species that might consider resistance. The Ravagers had faced overwhelming odds before. There had been times when multiple species had banded together to try to stop their expansion, forming alliances and combining their fleets. The largest coalition they had ever faced included over 200 ships from 6 different civilizations. It had taken them less than a day to crush the alliance completely. Shall we hail the approaching vessels? Asked the communications officer. Yes, Thane replied. Give them the standard warning. If they withdraw immediately, we will allow them to live. If they interfere with our operations, we will add their ships to our salvage totals. The message was transmitted on all frequencies, carrying the authority of 2 million years of successful conquest. The Ravagers had never needed to negotiate or show mercy. Every species they had encountered had either fled or been destroyed. There was no middle ground in their philosophy. As the 12 unknown ships continued their approach, Thane felt the familiar satisfaction of another successful campaign nearing completion. The Alterans would be extinct within days, their world stripped clean and ready for the next phase of Ravager expansion. The approaching ships would either flee or provide a brief moment of entertainment before being destroyed. The Ravagers had perfected the art of overwhelming force. They had never encountered a species that had perfected the art of precision warfare. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace like ghosts materializing from the void, their ships running silent with all weapons powered but concealed. Admiral Torres studied the tactical display showing the massive Ravager fleet scattered across the tidal prime system, their formations loose and undisciplined. They're not even trying to maintain defensive positions, observed Commander Ross from his station. Look at how they're positioned. No overlapping fields of fire, no screening formations, no reserve units. They're just scattered around the planet like scavengers at a feast. The Terra's might and its 11 companion ships moved with predatory precision toward the inner system. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human military engineering, designed not for exploration or commerce but for one purpose: to kill efficiently and survive everything the enemy could throw at them. Communications, open a channel to the Alteron. Government, Torres ordered, let them know help has arrived. The message reached Ambassador Lyra as she huddled with the survivors in the deepest coral cities. This is Admiral Torres of the Human Defense Force responding to your distress call. We are implementing immediate combat assistance. Please evacuate all personnel from engagement zones and maintain communications silence until we signal all clear. Lyra stared at the message in disbelief. They actually came, she whispered to the council members around her. An entire fleet responded to our call. But as she examined the sensor data, confusion replaced hope. Only 12 ships? Against 1,000 Ravagers? Elder Kale studied the human vessels with growing amazement. These ships are unlike anything we have seen. Their energy signatures are enormous, but contained. Their hulls appear to be designed for combat rather than exploration. The human fleet moved through space with a coordination that defied explanation. Each ship knew exactly where the others were, what they were doing, and what they would do next. Their AI systems had linked into a unified network that processed information and calculated responses faster than any biological mind could comprehend. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Ravager fleet, reported the communications. Officer Torres nodded. Put it through. The message carried the arrogance of 2 million years of successful conquest. Unknown vessels, you are interfering with Ravager operations. This system has been claimed for processing. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. This is your only warning, Torres smiled as she prepared her response. Warlord Thane, this is Admiral Torres of the Human Defense Force. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to demonstrate why attacking our allies is a fatal mistake. She paused, studying the tactical display. You wanted to see what happens when prey fights back. You are about to learn the difference between predator and apex predator. The Ravager fleet began moving into attack formation, their massive ships turning toward the tiny human force with contemptuous ease. Thane's voice came over the communication channel, filled with amusement. 12 ships against 1,000. Your species must be incredibly stupid or incredibly brave. Either way, you will be destroyed. All ships implement attack pattern Omega, Torres commanded. Target priorities, command vessels first, then harvester ships, then escorts. Leave nothing functional. The human fleet suddenly accelerated, their formation shifting into an attack pattern that would have been impossible for any other species to coordinate. The ships moved like a pack of wolves, each one covering the others while maintaining perfect spacing and timing. They are faster than our projections indicated, reported Commander Ross. Enemy weapons are tracking but cannot achieve target lock. Their fire control systems are too slow. The Ravagers opened fire with everything they had, filling space with energy beams and projectile weapons. But the human ships danced between the incoming fire with impossible precision, their AI systems calculating safe paths through the chaos faster than the enemy could adjust their aim. Return fire. Torres ordered calmly. The Terra's Might's main weapons lit up space with coherent energy beams that could crack planets. The first shot vaporized a Ravager command ship in a burst of superheated plasma. The second destroyed a harvester vessel twice the size of the human battleship. The third and fourth shots eliminated 2 escort groups before they could even react. Enemy fleet is attempting to coordinate their response, reported the tactical officer. They are trying to surround us. Torres studied the enemy movements with professional interest. They still think this is about numbers. Show them what coordinated fire can accomplish. The human fleet opened fire in perfect synchronization, their weapon systems linked through quantum communication networks that operated faster than light. 12 ships fired as one. Their combined firepower focused on critical points in the enemy formation, Ravager. Ships began exploding in chain reactions as their own weapons and fuel systems were targeted with surgical precision. The humans were not just shooting at the enemy, they were dissecting their fleet with the skill of experienced predators who knew exactly where to strike for maximum effect. This is impossible, Thane's voice came over the communication channel, no longer filled with arrogance. No species fights like this. What are you? Torres opened a channel to the entire Ravager fleet. We are humans, warlord. We evolved on a world where everything tried to kill us. We learned to kill back more efficiently than anything else in the galaxy. You made the mistake of threatening our friends. The battle had lasted less than 10 minutes, but already the Ravager fleet was in chaos. Their loose formations had become a liability as human weapons found perfect firing angles through their scattered ships. The Ravagers had overwhelming numbers, but the humans had something far more deadly: the ability to think, plan, and execute with perfect coordination. All ships, continue the attack, Torres ordered. No survivors, no retreat. They wanted to see what happens when prey fights back. The massacre continued with mechanical precision as the human fleet carved through the Ravager forces like a blade through paper. Admiral Torres watched the tactical display with the detached interest of a professional conducting a training exercise, noting how each enemy ship died exactly as predicted by their combat algorithms. Enemy fleet cohesion is completely broken, reported Commander Ross. They are attempting to retreat, but their ships are too large and slow to escape our weapons. Range, estimated time to complete destruction, 28 minutes. The Ravagers had never encountered an enemy that could coordinate their attacks with such deadly precision. Their entire military doctrine was based on overwhelming force and intimidation, crushing resistance through sheer numbers and firepower. But the humans fought like nothing they had ever seen, each ship supporting the others in a dance of destruction that seemed almost choreographed. Warlord Thane watched in horror as his flagship's bridge exploded around him. Half his crew was dead, his weapon systems were failing, and the mysterious human ships continued their relentless assault. "All vessels, concentrate fire on the lead ship," he screamed into his communicator. "Bring everything we have to bear on that battleship." The remaining Ravager ships attempted to focus their fire on the Terra's might, but the human battleship moved through their weapons fire like it could predict where every shot would go. Its defensive systems intercepted incoming projectiles, while its armor absorbed energy beams that should have destroyed any known vessel. "They are trying to concentrate their fire," observed the tactical officer. "Implementing evasive pattern 7. Torres nodded approvingly as her ship twisted through space, avoiding the Ravager barrage while maintaining perfect firing solutions on multiple targets. "Continue systematic elimination. I want their command structure completely destroyed before we move on to the harvester ships." The human weapon systems had been designed through centuries of warfare, each advancement built on the lessons learned from previous conflicts. Where other species developed technology for exploration or commerce, humans had perfected the art of killing. Their ships carried weapons that could crack planets, defenses that could withstand anything short of stellar collapse, and AI systems that could process battlefield information faster than any biological mind. "Warlord, we have lost 70% of our fleet," reported Krell, his voice breaking with panic. "The enemy ships are too fast, too coordinated. We cannot achieve target lock long enough to damage them." Thane stared at the tactical display, showing the systematic destruction of his 1,000-ship fleet. The humans had turned warfare into something approaching divine retribution, each shot precisely placed to cause maximum damage while conserving ammunition. They wasted nothing, missed nothing, and showed no mercy. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No species develops this level of military coordination. They fight like a single organism with perfect knowledge of our weaknesses." Commander Ross studied the enemy's attempts to regroup. "They are trying to form a defensive sphere around their flagship? Shall we demonstrate why defensive formations are meaningless against superior firepower?" Torres smiled grimly. "Proceed. Show them what happens when prey learns to hunt." The human fleet shifted formation again, their ships moving with inhuman precision to attack the Ravager defensive sphere from 12 different angles simultaneously. Their weapons fired in perfect synchronization, each shot timed to arrive at the exact moment. When the enemy's defensive systems would be overwhelmed, the Ravager sphere collapsed in less than 30 seconds, their ships exploding in brilliant flashes as human weapons found every weakness in their hulls. The creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years were being systematically exterminated by a species they had never encountered before. Unknown vessels, please respond. Thane transmitted on all frequencies. We surrender. We will withdraw from this system immediately. Please cease fire. Torres considered the request for exactly 3 seconds. Warlord Thane, your species has spent millions of years consuming entire civilizations. You have shown no mercy to countless innocent species. Why should we show mercy? To you? We were only following our nature, Thane replied desperately. We are predators. We consume resources to survive. This is how we have always lived. And this is how you die, Torres responded coldly. You wanted to see what happens when prey fights back. The lesson is simple. Some prey evolve to become apex predators. The final Ravager ship exploded in a brilliant flash of superheated plasma, leaving only debris and the stunned silence of the Alteron observers. The human fleet had reduced 1,000-ship armada to cosmic dust in exactly 43 minutes, suffering no casualties and expending less than 20% of their ammunition. Ambassador Lyra floated in the crystal corridors of her city, staring at the tactical displays that showed the complete annihilation of the Ravager fleet. They destroyed every single ship, she whispered to Elder Kale. All of them, in less than an hour. How is such precision possible? Admiral Torres, this is Ambassador Lyra, she transmitted to the human fleet. We cannot begin to express our gratitude. You have saved our entire species from extinction. Torres opened a channel to the Alteron government. Ambassador Lyra, your people called for help, and we answered. We are establishing orbital security while you rebuild your defenses. The Ravagers will not be bothering anyone again. She paused, considering her next words carefully. Understand this. What you witnessed today is what happens when someone threatens our allies. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity does not just defend, we protect. Anyone who harms our friends will face the same fate as the Ravagers. As the human fleet took defensive positions around Tidal Prime, automated systems began transmitting the battle records to nearby star systems. The message was clear. A new apex predator had emerged in the galaxy, and it had chosen to use its power to protect rather than consume. The Alterans had sent a distress call hoping for salvation. They had received something far more powerful, humanity's promise that no one would ever threaten them again. The galaxy was about to discover that. When aliens sent a distress call, they had awakened the wrong species to mess with.